In the year 2000, two men walked into Blockbuster's headquarters. The company was bleeding money, and they had one desperate offer: buy us, just $50 million. Blockbuster's executives laughed them out of the room. Why would the world's largest video rental chain buy a tiny DVD by mail startup that was losing money? 10 years later, the startup was worth billions. Blockbuster was bankrupt. And the laugh that ended that meeting became one of the most expensive jokes in business history. But to understand why Blockbuster laughed, you need to understand what Blockbuster was. Back in 2000, Blockbuster wasn't just successful, it was untouchable. 9,000 stores across the world, tens of millions of customers, a brand so powerful that Friday night and Blockbuster were practically the same word. Every week, families piled into the car, drove to their nearest Blockbuster, walked the aisles, picked a movie, and went home. It was a ritual, a habit so deeply embedded in American life that nobody questioned whether it would last. And the money, Blockbuster printed it. Late fees alone generated over $800 million a year. That's nearly $1 billion from people simply forgetting to return their movies. Blockbuster wasn't struggling, it was an empire, which is exactly why the danger was invisible. The danger had a name: Netflix. But in 2000, Netflix looked less like a threat and more like a joke. No stores, no brand recognition, no profits. Just a website where you could order DVDs by mail and wait days for them to arrive. Compare that to Blockbuster. Walk in, pick a movie, walk out. Instant. The idea that Netflix could ever challenge Blockbuster seemed almost laughable. And that's exactly what made it so dangerous. Because while Blockbuster was looking at what Netflix was, it completely missed what Netflix was becoming. Then the dot com crash hit. Technology companies collapsed overnight. Investors fled. And Netflix, already struggling, was suddenly fighting for its life. That's when its founders made a decision that would change everything. They picked up the phone and called Blockbuster. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph flew to Dallas, Blockbuster's headquarters. They sat across the table from Blockbuster's executives and they made their pitch: buy Netflix, $50 million. We'll run the online side of your business. You keep the stores. Together, we dominate the future of home entertainment. Blockbuster executives listened, and then they passed. Not because the price was too high, but because they genuinely didn't believe Netflix was a real threat. After all, why would customers wait 3 days for a DVD to arrive in the mail when they could drive 5 minutes to a blockbuster and walk out with a movie right now? The logic wasn't crazy, it was just wrong because it assumed the future would look exactly like the present, and futures never do. The Netflix founders flew home empty handed. Blockbuster went back to business as usual. But here's what nobody in that room understood: the real mistake wasn't saying no to Netflix. The real mistake was what Blockbuster did next. While Blockbuster forgot about Netflix, Netflix never forgot about Blockbuster. Reed Hastings understood Blockbuster's customers better than Blockbuster did. He knew what they loved, he knew what they hated, and what they hated most was the late fee, that $800 million a year cash machine. To customers, it wasn't just a revenue stream, it was a punishment, a tax for forgetting, a fine for being human. And every single time a customer paid a late fee, a small piece of their loyalty to Blockbuster died with it. Netflix had no late fees. Keep the DVD as long as you want. Return it when you're ready. No punishment, no guilt. no fine, just movies. And slowly, quietly, one customer at a time, people started switching, not dramatically, not all at once, just a slow, invisible leak that Blockbuster's numbers didn't show yet. Meanwhile, Blockbuster kept raising late fees because the money was too good to stop. But here's the thing about a slow leak: if you ignore it long enough, it becomes a flood. In 2004, a man named John Antioco did something brave. He was Blockbuster's CEO and he could see what was coming. So he made a decision that should have saved the company. He eliminated the late fees entirely. No more punishment, no more fines. Blockbuster was finally going to compete with Netflix on the one thing that customers actually cared about. And it worked. Customers responded. The gap with Netflix started closing. For a brief moment, it looked like Blockbuster might actually survive. Then its own board destroyed the plan. The late fee removal was costing Blockbuster hundreds of millions in lost revenue. Shareholders panicked. Antioco was pressured, eventually forced out. The very strategy that was beginning to work was quietly killed by the people who were supposed to save the company. Blockbuster had one real chance, and it fired the man trying to save it. What followed was inevitable. But even if Antioco had survived, one more thing was coming up that no video rental store could stop: streaming. In 2007, Netflix launched its streaming service. No DVDs, no mail, no waiting, just an internet connection and a screen. Suddenly, the question wasn't Blockbuster or Netflix. It was, why would anyone leave their couch at all? Blockbuster tried to fight back. It launched its own streaming service, its own rental platform. It spent hundreds of millions trying to catch up. But there's a rule in business that almost never has exceptions. You cannot out innovate a company that has spent decades doing nothing but innovate. Blockbuster was protecting yesterday. Netflix was building tomorrow. And by the time Blockbuster understood the difference, tomorrow had already arrived. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. Netflix didn't just survive, it won. Then it rewrote the rules of entertainment entirely. Today, Netflix is one of the most valuable entertainment companies in the world. Blockbuster has one store left in Bend, Oregon, a museum of a decision that went wrong. And somewhere in a boardroom in Dallas in the year 2000, two nervous founders made an offer for $50 million and they were laughed out of the room. They were offering Blockbuster the future. Blockbuster chose the present, and the present always ends. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more and click the video on your screen to explore another decision that changed history.